Alright, so now let's talk about a bit more of putting stuff together here in Dynamo and connecting to Revit environment. So I'm just gonna delete everything I put there. I want to start with, just so I told you guys, if you want to access your families and stuff like that, you will open a Revit project in the background. If you want to access only massing and nodes and points, you will deal with family editing or conceptual mass. So for now, I've got my conceptual mass open and I'm in Dynamo. I just want to put in a number node. So here again, if you are dealing with data because it gets complicated sometimes, it's good to know what is each of the nodes doing. So a good way of that is double clicking and renaming what this thing is. So let's say this is my X value for a point. I'll just rename that so in the future I know what I'm dealing with. This is like the examples I'm showing today are very simple, but in the future you know how valuable this renaming thing could be. The other thing is that when you right click on a node, it will give you some other options too. So you can remove your node, you can create groups out of a group of nodes, you could freeze, you could also turn on and off the preview. So if you got something in your screen you don't want it to show up in your graphics, you'll just turn off the preview so that you won't see it. That's pretty much it. So let's do a point again. So I'll do right click, point by coordinates, and then I'll give it 3 values like that, Control C, Control V, and then hold Control and drag 0, 0, 0. That's my point by coordinates. And that's the weird thing I've never figured out. Sometimes when you work with Control and then you click, your nodes start to move around. And I have never figured out how to deal with that. Let me know if you know. Alright, so I talked about the inputs being on the left, the outputs being on the right, and the data flow is again from left to right. If you want to connect a node, you will click and click. If you want to disconnect, you will click somewhere in the open space, click again, so it's disconnected. So click and click connects, click and release in the open space will disconnect. Another thing that is may be useful is that you can connect one node to several inputs. So if I want to point at 0, 0, 0, I can just easily use one value and do that. But you can't connect 2 nodes into one point. That's again another difference between Grasshopper and Dynamo, that you can't connect 2 inputs to one, 2 nodes to one input. Alright, so I've got a point that is at, let's say 0, 0, and 10. And if I make this a bit smaller and look at my Revit environment, it is not showing up. It is showing a dot, but it's not a point that I can use. What it is that it needs to have a reference point. Can I move this? Yes. So I would go type in reference point. So reference point by point. Now, no, not this one. Reference point by point. So this node is creating a reference point in my Revit environment based on a point I've made in Dynamo. So click on the point, click on the point. Now you see I've got a point here in Dynamo. I will go here and give this a slider, number slider to my Z value, and I change the maximum to 10 because I don't need more than that. Now you see as I change here, come on, this should be changing in both environments. Maybe I need to zoom in more? Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, so it's bigger. I'll just give it maybe 1000 and the steps are 10. Okay, now it should make more sense. Okay. So now when I'm moving my points in my Dynamo, it's moving the point in Revit. it gets a bit more interesting when you know that you can reference these points in your drawings that you do in Revit. So let's say I want to draw a curve. So here's my curve. When I go on that point, I can snap to it. So I'll just draw this point and then go there and that. So let's say this is something I have in my environment, and I can control that one point that I've already made in Dynamo. I will see the results in Revit.
So you can't see the dot in or point in the Dynamo